Welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
For this is what the Sovereign Lord says.
Why do you need prophets to tell people who you are and what you want?
If you can justify everything that the God of the Bible has done, then you can justify any of your behavior.
A lot of this mentality is trickling into what is now mainstream right-wing Christianity.
I am capable of empathy greater than this God of the Bible.
This is a Bible that they tell kids. This is the good Lord. This is the good book. He is fantasizing about murder, mass murder.
Head over to sacrilegiousdiscourse.com right now to find out how to leave us a review or support us on Patreon.
Hey there, sinners and saints. It's your favorite Bible-bashing duo from Sacrilegious Discourse, and we need your help.
That's right, folks. We're raising funds for some heavenly equipment and a studio that doesn't sound like it's in the depths of hell.
Our current setup, let's just say it's more apocalypse than audiophile.
So if you want to hear us dissect the Bible without the background noise of demonic squirrels, chip in a few bucks.
We're aiming for $5,000 to upgrade our audio and build a studio worthy of blasphemous banter.
Donate today and help us spread the good word of atheism.
You can find a link right on our homepage, sacrilegiousdiscourse.com. Every dollar counts.
Even if it's from your collection plate. Husband!
Wife!
What are you telling me about today?
Well, we are doing a special episode, and we are on live late on Discord right now.
Mm-hmm. It's after midnight, y'all.
But there's a reason for it.
Yes.
We had to stay up late to watch the State of the Union.
We had to.
And we didn't really even realize that it was happening yesterday, or today, I guess, but for you, yesterday, until earlier in the day yesterday, but today for us.
Right.
That's not confusing at all.
We did not
right?
plan ahead is what we were trying to
no
say.
planning ahead. It was a last minute thing like, oh shit. And then we're like, oh, we have to do a podcast about it, right?
Yeah.
Obviously.
You were like at I'll set the alarm for 4:00. I'm going to be working till then. And then when it goes off, then I'll start putting something together for tonight. Yeah. And then like an hour later, you came in and you go, oh shit, the State of the Union's tonight. I just found out. I guess we got to talk about that. So literally the State of the Union started at 9 and we did not decide what you were going to be talking about tonight to me.
Right.
Until right before 4:00.
Yeah, and a lot of you don't know this if you aren't on Discord, but a lot of the times when there's a big political event, like a State of the Union or a debate or whatever, we tend to do a live chat during it, which is also really fun.
It is.
So another reason to join us, because if you don't have a good crowd to hang around with for, politics,
right,
we're a great place to be.
It's true. And what makes it fun is that we used to want to put together like a State of the Union watch party or like, election, whatever those things are.
But now the best watch party is on our Discord.
I know. And nobody would watch party with us.
Yeah.
And now we don't have to put on pants and leave the house. And neither do you.
That's right. Yeah. So the State of the Union.
Was that the intro? Are we done?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. But
Okay.
I'm just going to say, just my personal take, before we get into Trump's take on it, it's shit.
It was a fucking hot mess, and so is the country.
I was just speaking for the State of the Union.
Yeah. It's a hot mess also.
I think Canadians would agree with us even.
Oh, shit, yeah.
I'm just saying.
They do,
yeah,
as a matter of fact.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to go over just kind of a synopsis of what happened, do some fact checking, try to remember everything that fucking happened, and try to keep our spit in our mouth.
So says you.
Ready to do this?
Sure as fuck am.
Let's do it.
Okie dokie.
Okay, so we are going to go over some of the stuff from the State of the Union from last night. Yeah, it's some fun shit. And I mean, by fun, I mean shitty crap that I don't really want to be covering, but it's the state of our, Cheeto.
Yeah, I have some comments to make when
I get to them.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you lead this thing, and then as you get to the points, I will contribute my thoughts, and I have a couple tidbits to offer as well.
Yeah. So for anybody that watched it, I'm sorry. It was terrible.
My condolences.
Yeah, right. It was not good. But there were some interesting things that happened for sure.
there was a historical moment, and there was.
Oh.
And there was also some terrifying and questionable moments. And if you just like drama, there was
drama.
There was some drama.
Yeah, yeah. So early on in the speech, it started by Trump saying, "America is back."
Yeah.
Like
apparently we
were missing. I don't know where we went, but we were missing.
We were with Jesus behind the curtain.
And so, of course, at that point, the Republicans start chanting USA.
USA, USA.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And then, so Trump goes on, says he's done more in the first 43 days than most presidents do, and however long, and whatever, blah, 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 blustery bullshit, says that he won the election in a mandate. We get to the first fucking lie. Right?
A landslide, which
four sentences in, basically, we're at a lie.
Yeah.
He won the popular vote by less than 1.5%.
Yeah.
That's less than a fucking accounting error.
Yeah. Yeah. That is not a landslide, which means it's not a mandate.
Yeah. No, I mean, that could have just been somebody just, whatever. It's not a fucking mandate.
I do have something that I want to add before you get any further, though.
Okay.
Because you...
Oh, I skipped one. I skipped a thing.
Well, you neglected to mention that even before all that started, the Democrats, a lot of them showed up dressed in bright pink as their formal protest, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
And that was cool.
And actually, one of the things I meant to mention before I got to the Trump part was that there was a woman from New Mexico, Democrat. Her name was Melanie Stansbury. And she was holding up a sign as Trump was coming down the aisle. It says, "This is not normal." And you know what? This is not fucking normal.
I really appreciated that.
Right.
And then I did not appreciate that, like, a moment later, the camera panned away so that she was not
They were keeping her just off screen. Yeah.
And then you saw the piece of paper kind of flutter in the air because Republican Lance Gooden from Texas, of course, ripped it out of her hands, basically. And threw it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, the Republicans, just good people overall, right?
And they believe in freedom of speech, and they don't...
Right, yeah. You just say your piece, and I'll just rip it out of your fucking hands.
Yeah.
That's basically what they do, so...
Yeah.
But, yeah, and then it wasn't too much further in also that we get to a point where... Representative Al Green, a Democrat.
Actually.
Oh, another
I'm
thing.
So sorry,
No, you're fine.
You off.
You're fine.
Prior to that, several representatives got up to leave.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
There were some Crockett. What's her name? Jasmine Crockett. She's like really super smart. I love her.
Sure.
I forget where she's from, but Jasmine Crockett. She's amazing. If you do not know her, look her up. She is smart as a fucking whip, and she is so fast with a comeback, and she will take you down, and you will not even know you've been taken down, and you'll be looking over your shoulder. Oh, she's...
Well, and some people like AOC protested by not even showing up in the first place.
There were some like AOC that didn't show up. Crockett took off her jacket, and the back of her shirt said "resist."
Yeah. Oh, I saw them walking. I did see them walking out. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, and Maxwell Frost also did the same thing, and the back of her shirt said "No kings live here."
Perfect.
Right?
Perfect. Yeah.
I really appreciate that. It was quiet. It was peaceful protest. It was respectful.
Yeah.
And they left.
Right.
So now, sorry.
Sure.
Now you can
No, you're fine. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't know that that's what that was. So I was busy taking notes the entire time through this thing. It was really difficult to do this in the short time frame that we had to prepare for this episode.
Yeah.
But Representative Lance Gooden, he's a... no, I'm sorry. No, that was the guy that ripped the paper out of the other girl's hands.
The paper snapper.
Representative Al Green, who is a Democrat from Texas, was actually removed from the chamber because he was doing a protest, basically.
Yep.
He refused to sit down. He was speaking out against Trump. Not real loud, but he was saying
he was
something
pretty
back.
fucking loud.
He was loud.
What he said was, "You have no mandate to cut Medicaid," and that got him ousted.
Yeah,
that's what he was shouting.
Yeah, so that they threw him out of the room,
and that was a history making moment because his removal is unprecedented in the history of presidential addresses to Congress.
Wow.
Dissenting members of Congress usually are not removed from the chamber, even if they shouted at the president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, but here's the other side of that, too. Mm-hmm. Generally, the State of the Unions are a little bit more respectful. They do protest.
Yes.
But it's in a very structured way.
Right.
Right?
Like wearing all the same color, or wearing pins, or having signs or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But kicking somebody out.
That was...
And with a smirk on his... Trump had a smirk on his face the entire time. So did J.D. Vance. And that just really...
Yeah. It was so gross. It was so gross. Yeah. And they called the sergeant at arms to have him forcibly removed.
Yeah.
And they did. They forcibly removed him.
Right.
And, I was going to say something else. Oh, Green also, he has already introduced articles of impeachment against Trump.
Oh. Well,
which I did not know. So good on him.
Yeah.
They're not going to go anywhere, but you know what? I appreciate him making noise.
Right.
I do. Because what have I been bitching about for ages now? Like, why aren't these people out front of buildings doing something, leading marches, shaking the whole fucking building, turning out the lights and pulling the fire alarms and losing the staples?
Yeah.
Just making it as problematic and... Ooh, okay, sorry, go on.
No. You're fine. So I'm going to go... This, if we talked about every single point, we'd be here for as long as the fucking State of the Union.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, sure.
So I'm going to hit some highlights, and then I'm going to go back and hit some fact checking.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm just going to go over a few things that Trump has said during this speech that kind of caught my attention. Okay.
Yep.
So the first one that I'm going to cover is that he says he's going to set records on removing regulations, and he's going to remove 10 old regulations for each new regulation, which by my math means that we'll be removing more regulations than exist.
Right.
Which is not a good thing.
That's not how that goes.
Regulations are, how we protect people.
Yeah.
How people don't get harmed. How we don't get fucked over by the government and by corporations.
And it's also how your building doesn't fall down around you. And it's also how kids...
Don't have lead in their fucking water.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
Yeah. Or poison in their goddamn food.
Yeah.
These are the things that we have regulations for.
Exactly.
I understand that some people see them as restrictive, but we can talk about restrictive, regulations.
Yeah.
We don't just do away with them without thinking about what we're doing away with.
Sure we do if you want to start all over. Blow it up and start over and be the king.
Yeah. I forgot another thing that the Democrats did as a sign of protest. They had all of them had signs.
They were the paddleboard fans.
Yeah, and a lot of them said false on one side and Musk steals on the other side. I put mistakes.
No, honey, Trump steaks.
It's Trump steaks, Musk steals. Yeah.
Yes.
And then there was a couple other signs, like Save Medicare, I saw at one point, too, on one of the back of the signs.
Yeah.
So they had their silent protest signs, which was nice.
Yeah.
Trump said at one point that we will no longer be a woke country.
Yeah.
Actually, he said that at more than one point. So
woke is gone. That's what he said.
Yeah, woke is gone, apparently. I didn't know that, but Trump said so it must be true.
Question mark. Yeah.
No. If we base that on how many times I had to fact check them after we get to the fact checking portion, then nothing he says is fucking true, basically. So the other thing I want to point out is that there is always some aspect of this in any State of the Union where a president will bring feel-good people to the speech and they point them out and make a example. Yeah. It's usually one or two. Right?
He had like 500.
Oh my God. He gave out fucking awards. He promoted like a 10-year-old to the Secret Service.
He gave away a West Point Academy entrance.
It was like the Oscars for government.
Yeah.
He was giving away awards all over the fucking place. And naming wildlife refuges after people and bills. He signed a fucking presidential order during the State of the Union.
Yeah.
Like, this was just a circus. It was a fucking circus. I mean,
it really was.
With
flying monkeys and everything.
Yeah. And one of them that stood out to me, there was, and look, I don't know what fucking happened, but I tend to think that a lot of this is exaggerated at some level. But there was some girl that played volleyball that got hit in the face or something somewhere so hard by a volleyball that she wasn't allowed to play volleyball in college, which she was gonna be able to do if she hadn't had this happen to her.
Right. It broke her face or something.
I'm
Probably
like,
broke
seriously?
her nose or whatever.
I want to look. I don't even give a fuck.
No.
Right? Like,
no.
Sports hurt sometimes. You get hurt. It's a thing that fucking happens.
And it doesn't matter the gender of the person who is on the other side.
But just the stories that he was they were
he was
they were all just catering.
He was basically trying to convey that we can't have boys in sports. He was condemning the trans community and saying that anytime a trans person succeeds or wins, it's harmful to the girls and the boys.
Yeah, no, and that was a large portion of his speech tonight.
Yeah, it was highly anti-trans. He said there's only two genders, male and female, and that there is no such thing as trans. And I'm like, my kid's non-binary.
Well, and he even taglined it. He said it's the common sense revolution.
Yeah,
that was the words he used in the speech. And it's not common sense to me. Well, common sense to me is treating people equitably and treating them with respect and not hating people for who they are. If you hate people for who they are, there's something wrong with you, not that person.
Right. I was going to say, you know what? You don't even have to fully understand or be interested in learning or you don't even have to believe that there's more than one gender or that gender is a spectrum, right? I'm not asking you to change your entire belief system.
Yeah.
But can't you just be like, whatever? Like, it's not hurting you. It's not hurting anybody. My kid literally just wants to live. And my cousin has a transgender daughter, and she takes hormone level things to level out her hormones. Like, I'm saying it all wrong because I'm uninformed.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that she, I believe, is 19, and so my cousin, her mother, and her transgender child, they are frightened to death right now, not just because they are losing all of the right to the medication or the ability to get the medication, but because he has literally said that he wants to do away with trans people.
Well, he said literally he made he signed, I don't know when this was signed, or maybe it's yet to be signed, but he signed a presidential order, or is going to sign a presidential order that states that there are two genders, male, female.
Period, the end.
Period, the end.
That's America's stance on it, and the president said so.
Yeah, I can't keep track of when he's signed all these damn things, or if he signed them, or what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And half the time he's lying anyway, so it doesn't... Right. I don't know what to believe when he's just doing a speech.
And that's a lot of newscasters that, like the independent news, not the legacy news, they say that what they have decided to do during this particular presidential run is to concentrate less on what he says, even though, like, it's so infuriating.
Sure.
And try to report more on the actions, less on what he says, because he does say so many crazy things, and that's what he does to make you like lose track.
Oh yeah. No, you can't keep track of everything he says.
Right.
And that's part of how he went.
Right.
So, and the next part he got into was he was blaming Democrats and Biden for the economic disaster and egg prices. He blamed us for egg prices.
Right.
Yeah. Which I don't know if any of you recall, but that's happened in the last 43 days.
Yeah.
That's happened since he took office. Also, the stock market, just look at it.
It like, just crashed.
Go look at it. Yeah. Go look at it's a chart. Yeah. So if you don't know, it's a chart. It goes up and down. And look at it when Biden left office and where we are now. Yeah. And you just make your own judgments from that.
Not that the stock market is an accurate indicator of the normal lives of normal people and the economy as it sits for middle class Americans.
No, it's
right?
not.
It's not. But they point to it so fucking often as though it matters, and yet right now it has tanked, and that is on him.
It does matter, though. It matters for how the rich people are going to handle their money. It matters for how companies are going to handle their money.
And moreover, it matters more on the world level of world economy. But for like middle class Americans, like I don't fucking watch that shit. I don't follow the stock market. It's not important to me on a personal level.
Yeah.
So
he talked about also we're gonna drill, baby, drill. We're gonna tear up the entire country to get all the fucking minerals and oil out of it and whatever. That's not new news. He was gonna do that last time too, which is terrible for our environment, terrible for all the things. Of course, he had to mention Elon. We got into the Doge thing, and Elon got a little bit too long of an applause, I think, at the speech. Trump literally stopped and stood there and applauded him for a good, I'd say 30, 40 seconds. It was an unnaturally long clapping period from the president.
Well, it was probably, a paid ad.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Elon is like, you need to show me for at least 30 fucking seconds or I will take money from you or what the fuck ever.
And then he went down this absurd list of things that were going, that are things that they've caught, right? That they have fixed, that they are finding waste in. And it was like, 40 million for sedentary migrants, 8 million to support LGBTQIA in African nation, 8 million for making mice transgender. There's a whole list of things he went down, just number after number after number after number after number. One of them, and I'm not saying they're untrue, but when you say them in a list and you make them into a derogatory comment, and instead of explaining why these programs exist in the first place,
right?
Of course people are going to say, oh, that's ridiculous.
Of course making mice transgender is ridiculous.
Right. But let's hear why they did that. Let's understand. Like, there's got to be a reason.
Yeah.
Right? And I would imagine it has something to do with science and studying how humans actually,
Probably it has to do with hormones and interaction of medications and shit like that.
Well, because people are born not the gender that they are supposed to be. Right. And there's ways to probably tell that somewhat based on the amount of whatever. I don't know all the science.
No.
I'm not going to pretend like I know all the science.
Right.
But if you're testing mice, you're probably testing to see if you can make them happier by switching them into a different gender.
Right.
And then gauging their responses thusly. Right.
To me, that is a very fair hypothesis.
Sure.
Like,
I don't know that that's the case, but that would make sense to me.
We could, I don't know, find out.
Yeah.
Before we just throw it on national television and say it's trash.
I did go through some fact checks, and I'm going to get to those still.
Right.
But these are the things that I didn't even have time to fact check.
Can I get back to Elon Musk for a second?
Please.
Because
Mr. fucking Nazi.
Yeah, Mr. fucking Nazi. Two things about that.
Yeah.
One, Trump may have been giving him space and time to throw a Sig Heil. Who knows?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because, he did it before, which prompted our episode about Nazi salutes and Roman salutes.
Yes.
And so he may have been doing that. I'm not saying he was.
Right.
But I'm not saying he wasn't.
Right.
So that's one thing. The other thing is that Trump made a Freudian slip by saying that, on national television in the State of the Union that Elon Musk is leading up Doge, because they were literally in court last week.
He was just an advisor or something, right?
Yeah, because it is illegal for him to be leading that government entity. And so they were trying to really, really hard to convince a judge, no, see, he's just an advisory. He's not leading it.
Well, good.
But that's what he said tonight.
Good.
He is leading it.
Yeah.
So
we all know he's leading.
I don't know all of the court things, but if you want to call like whatever the equivalent 911 is and be like, excuse me, I have a crime on national television. Elon Musk, it turns out, is in fact actually leading Doge.
Right. Yeah. So
that's fun.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. He screwed that up. So that's awesome.
Woohoo.
In the same little spiel where he was going over numbers that were bad for accountability and things, he went over Social Security, which scares the piss out of me because that is my fucking money they're talking about. And I'll be damned if they're going to, no, Don't even talk about it. Keep that shit out of your mouth. I don't want to hear you talk about it. So whatever. He's saying on his State of the Union that there are 4.7 million Social Security checks going out for 100 to 109-year-olds.
Yeah. Did you know that there's that many 109-year-olds in the country?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
You know how many? There's only like 300 million Americans.
Right.
So, I mean, when I get through this list, we're apparently accounting for like a very high percentage of people that are over these ages, apparently.
Or that
I don't know.
that are claiming to be.
Yeah, that are claiming to be. Let's see, 3.6 million from 110 to 119, 3.47 million from 120 to 129.
Okay, you're reading that way too fast. I just want to pause and say that he is claiming that it is on record
I was
that
get to
people are these ages.
I was going to get to that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm just rattling these numbers off. He said there's 1.3 million from 150 to 159 years old, and he says there's some over 160 years old. He even said that there's one person listed at 360 years old. So I don't know if any of you out there are really good at math, but that's older than our fucking country.
Yeah. So, but
we didn't even have Social Security back.
Yeah.
What the fuck is? Give me a fucking break. He's lying about all this.
Yeah.
This is not. This
and then
is
he's
bullshit.
like, "Where's the money going?" And I'm like, "You have the address on the check, bro. You have the address on. Drive to the house and see who's cashing it. It ain't that hard. It ain't rocket science. If you are claiming to me that you have a name on file of a 300-year-old, you know where it's going because they cashed the check. Right. Drive to that house and yell at that person because they're probably not 300 years old.
Right.
But moreover, I don't think that they're claiming to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't know where he got these numbers, but I cannot believe that we're actually like they might have some of these people on record as still in the database for Social Security.
Sure.
But they're not paying them.
No.
And some of these people from the 100 to 109, there are some people that are 100 to 109. There's probably even a few that are over 110.
I don't think
not many, but there might be a couple.
Not in America, I don't think.
Whatever. There have been at times. So
yeah.
Regardless, I'm leaving the option open for that one to be
generous.
True.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
Sure. Okay.
So anyway, some of those people exist. Some of them don't, but we don't know what he's talking about.
Right.
There's no way to gauge this because he throws out so much shit.
Again, show me the facts.
Right.
Sure, convince me. I want to believe you. That sounds like fraud. Can I please see the facts on that so I can be enthusiastically on board and drive with you to that house to yell at that person?
Right. Trump said after this, he said that interest rates took a big drop today. And I looked it up and maybe I missed it, but there was no interest rate drop.
Oh.
Not today, not recently.
Oh.
They've been on a level thing for a little bit now, so I'm not really sure what he was getting at there, but I think he lied.
Well, he probably just made it up.
He probably did. Well, I mean, interest rates at banks may have dropped because it's a new month, and they've been adjusting to a previous interest rate drop that happened.
But that's not the same thing as just in general, this wonderful thing happened.
Right, and he did say today, and it didn't happen today from what I could gather.
Right.
So, again, I think that was a bit of a misnomer, fib, lie.
You know what? We will again be generous and say that was a stretch of the truth.
Right.
I won't say that one's a lie. He's got so many. I can be really fucking generous.
Right. Yeah. So I got a question for you.
Okay.
How do you think Trump feels about immigrants?
He hates them.
Does he?
He says he does.
Does he?
He says he does.
What if they have $5 million?
He loves them. But they're not immigrants. They're rich people.
Okay. So apparently Trump has created a gold card.
Yeah.
Which, of course it's the gold card, right?
Yeah. And that's not new. He announced that last week.
Sure. Yeah. But if you got $5 million now,
you're not an immigrant.
You can literally buy citizenship to the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And somewhere in this realm right here, Trump spit on his sleeve.
Yeah.
And that starts the spit take. Okay. So it was somewhere in this range of time where Trump there's a bit of a loogie on his arm.
Is it a loogie or is it a Coke ball?
I have no fucking clue what it was.
It looked like
it was there.
Rock
and it came out. It came from him, and it landed on the sleeve, and it was just sitting there.
Yeah, and one of our listeners said that it's almost worse than the fly incident, which was, I don't know if you recall, during the what is that shit called when they're
the vice presidential debate?
That thing. Yeah. When the fly landed in Pence's hair and then it just stayed there through the whole goddamn
I don't know. That was pretty bad because Pence has some real fucking white hair.
Yeah.
And it just stood. I mean, it was like, it was just there.
You know what? It was tragic. And if I didn't hate him so much, I would have cringed on his behalf because I'm an empathetic person.
Right.
And I did hate that moment.
So that was the gist of what I was going to cover from early on in the podcast. But I did cover some of the things I was going to go over in the fact checking already. Okay. But I'm going to go down the rest of the list of fact check stuff here. Okay. And I'll just kind of glaze through this because these are the things that I was able to kind of glean quickly and figure out that they were wrong or right or whatever.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Before you go down your list.
Yeah.
Are you going to mention anything about Panama?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to mention anything about Greenland?
I think so.
Okay, go.
Okay. Let's see. He won the popular vote. We already covered that one as 1.5%. So that was kind of he did win the popular vote, but not by a fucking landslide.
Which makes it not a mandate.
Right. Yeah. He said that border crossings are at the lowest in history. There's no real data that supports that. There is some theories. We don't have the data on it yet, that because he took office and because of the actions that he's taken on the border, that we have dropped in immigration, or that we've dropped in border crossings, because he's literally declared a national emergency, sent the fucking National Guard down to the southern border. And yeah, of course they're not fucking crossing the border now.
Right.
You know, I mean, that shit's, he's putting an end to it in a way that is not okay.
Right.
More than that, though, he also claimed that that hundreds of thousands crossed under Biden, and most of them were criminals, which is completely untrue. There are a ton of studies out there that show that the immigrant populations in the U.S. are actually less. They're less criminals than they're less criminal activity.
They're less likely to engage in criminal activity.
Yeah, than your average American. Like they don't want to get busted because they don't want to go back to their country.
Yeah,
they came here for a reason.
Right.
You know, they are generally, and I know this from working with some of them. They're generally very hardworking people who want to just find a place in our society, and they're willing. I mean, people always say that they don't pay taxes, but here's the thing: if they're getting the paycheck, they're paying Social Security taxes. They're not going to receive Social Security, but they're paying Social Security taxes. And they're also buying shit, so they're paying sales taxes.
Exactly.
They're contributing to society. They help. And they're doing jobs that generally they can't find people to do these jobs because it's such shit
low
work.
Pay.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is not a good thing.
No.
You know, this is not a good thing. He's taking away he's taking away workers that we need and that are essential workers in the U.S. And this is not going to work out well. So, yeah.
Because you ain't going to see those rich white people and their kids out doing all that menial fucking work.
Right. At one point in the speech, he says, we're reclaiming the Panama Canal.
No, he said, we are invading
Well, that Panama was part of, Canal. Yeah. No, he said, yeah. And so...
I'm sorry. I turned to you and I was like, I'm sorry, did we just declare war on Panama?
I mean, that's kind of what it sounded like, right? But we actually, the U.S. legally transferred control to Panama in 1999, and quote unquote reclaiming it would be an international disaster. Like this is not something you can just do, and you're not going to just get away with this,
right? You
know, like there's way more to it than just reclaiming the Panama Canal.
Yeah, you can't just say no, that's ours now.
Right. It's much like you can't say Greenland is ours now. That doesn't work. Or Canada. Like, he just throws out, like, he's hoping somebody just says, oh, yeah, you can have it. Well, who's going to say that?
He put in a bid in the middle of the State of the Union. He put in a bid to Greenland.
Right.
He's like, hey, Greenland.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, that was the other. So, yeah, he was literally talking about, we'll probably get Greenland, and you know, there's only a few people that work there. We'll get it one way or another. Is what he said.
One way or another. That was his word.
Now you could interpret that to mean invading, but I'm thinking since there's so few people that Musk is probably just going to pay them all off. If I had to guess, you know, that'd be the easier way.
But I got to tell you fucking what, if I was in Greenland, I'd be making some phone calls and being like, That was scary. It sounded like he was declaring war. Let's fucking not. You can't say that. You cannot say no matter what.
Right.
One way or the other. That sounds like fighting words.
Yeah.
And we ain't trying to be in a war with you, bro.
Yeah, no, I don't know what to say about that, but it's like this whole bit where we're trying to take over the world, apparently, and as well as letting Putin take over the rest of the world is really starting to bother. It's not good.
Well, he specifically wants, like, this is for real. He actually wants to go down in history as having expanded American territory.
Right, yeah.
Like, that is something that he has dreamed about, and it's part what he views is it doesn't matter if he's recorded in history as a bad guy. He will go down as the first president in ages to have expanded American territory, and thus that will secure whatever legacy he thinks he's going to have.
Let's just not let him do any of that. Right?
Yeah.
All right, so next one. First of all, he says he did sign a presidential order that bans transgender females from participating in sports. Right. So that's a thing that he did. And then he went on to say that a trans athlete broke a running record by 5. They beat the next runner up by 5 hours. There is zero evidence of this ever happening. It is pure fiction. And I mean, was he running? Was he watching somebody run a fucking long distance run against a Roomba with a low battery or what? I don't fucking know what was going on here. But like, that's ridiculous. That's just pure lies.
Right.
Okay. Next thing that I've got on the list is that the military had its best recruiting month in 15 years. And then I think he tacked on a maybe ever because he always says something.
Because he always has. Some people say.
Yeah. So the military has been struggling with recruitment goals for years, and there are no updates that indicate otherwise anywhere. Unless he has information that's not available anywhere,
right? Then
he is lying about that as well.
Sure.
Which I guess he's president, so there's a small chance. But I'm betting he's just throwing shit out there to sound better.
Yeah, I was going to say, so prove it or don't say it.
Yeah, no. I would that would be one that if I was a good journalist, I'd be following up with, I'd like to see the proof of that, sir.
Yeah, because that sounds horrible.
Right.
And I cannot abide this, and I need to get to the bottom of this.
Well, the way that we convinced the military that it was a good thing that we can allow gay and lesbian and transgender to be in the military was that it's going to help them reach better recruitment goals because you're all inclusive, right?
Yeah, we couldn't convince them by saying, let's just treat people respectfully and just, not be dicks. We couldn't convince them on humanity. We had to convince them on numbers.
Yeah. And it, a lot of that has been going really well. It's worked out well.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that, the military is the military. So there's still going to be problems with some of this as far as how it works out on the field.
Is it composed of people?
Right. But overall, it's not a bad thing for the military.
Sure.
And it's more inclusive, which means it's more real it's more representative of the people in this country.
Yeah.
Like if the people in this country, all of them are allowed to join the military, then the military then represents the people of our country.
Right. Which
makes fucking sense to me.
Which is what you want because an all volunteer army is one that loves its country.
Yeah.
Hypothetically.
Oh, I forgot. I did this a little differently than I had planned, but suffice it to say, the spit that was on his sleeve stayed there for about a half hour to 45 minutes. It was I would say about a half hour.
I would say at least a half hour.
At least a half hour.
Yeah. The majority of.
Yeah, and it was a thing. Like, as we were watching it, we're like, he's still got the spit on his sleeve.
It's still there.
It's still there. And I was going to make it a running bit, but I forgot. Oh, because there's just so much to cut. This guy is so fucking aggravating.
Right. But I will say that you were asking me to find information on, has anybody identified what the spit was? Or what was he specifically saying when the spit came out of his mouth?
Well, he was talking about the millions.
Right. And you found that.
Yeah.
But while I was researching it, every single article from legit organizations tracking it during live. They did not mention that he spit, but they used the word spit multiple times. Like, he is spitting out facts and he is just spitting out numbers, and he is like every single article use the word spit in some fashion without saying he spit on his fucking sleeve.
He spit on his fucking sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was hilarious.
Yeah.
It was like, the fly on Pence's head 2.0,
Yeah.
And it wasn't as dramatic as that, but I mean, it was there.
Yeah.
It just kept being there. So that was pretty funny.
That's embarrassing.
I enjoyed it.
That's embarrassing.
I don't give a fuck.
Oh, no, I don't either. I don't either. He's grody. It was probably one of his fucking, long pieces.
Yeah. So I am going to give him credit for getting one thing correct.
Oh, generosity. Yeah. One thing.
One thing, yes. So I did verify that Trump's claim that Mexico extradited 29 cartel members to the U.S. is actually true. Now, things like this don't happen in a vacuum.
Right.
Like, this didn't happen all in his presidency. This has been something that has been in the works for a while.
Yeah.
You don't just extradite people overnight. That's not how that works.
Right.
So he's taking credit for something that was already kind of in the works, and he probably pushed it to move it forward, but it's not that it was still going to happen.
Right.
It was still something that was probably going to happen regardless of Trump or not.
Right.
So it's just his whole push is about immigration and, transgender. Like, that's his whole presidency.
Woke.
Right. Get rid of the woke, right?
Yeah.
And so
you got to kill woke.
He looks for opportunities to promote things like this. And beyond that, he was talking about how he got rid of DEI and anti-LGBTQ policies. Like, he was talking about, like, he gave Pete Hegseth, who's in charge of our military, who's a fucking awful person. And if you didn't listen to the Patreon episode and you're a patron, go listen to it. I am going to make that episode public soon, but we also do have a blog post on our website about Pete Hegseth.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend you check it out.
Yeah, you need to read up on this guy because he wants to turn the military into an army for fighting homeland.
Yeah, yeah.
The leftists specifically. And the church that he belongs to believes that LGBTQIA people should be dead.
Right.
So that's scary.
Yeah, yeah. So we went on from there to talk about tariffs. That was another thing that he touched on quite a bit. He announced that he's going to be doing reciprocal tariffs, and he also announced that he's going to be doing 25% tariffs on steel, aluminum, and copper. And I know, and I didn't have enough time to go into full research mode on all this, but we're screwing over Canada right now. I know that, and they are not happy with us, and they shouldn't be happy with us.
No, I'm so sorry. If any Canadian listeners are out there,
we apologize.
I'm so sorry. And
we love you.
This is not what Americans want. This is what some crazy people and the people leading them want.
We just, if you have an open house, just, write us, let us know. We'll give you our name. That way, to accept us when we have to run.
I mean, okay, not to be silly, but or overly dramatic, but I do have a cousin in Canada that I literally got in touch with her and asked her, hey, given that we are doing an atheist podcast and we are basically attacking policies that are religious based that should not exist. Yeah. We could potentially be targeted. And should that be the case, or should other things happen that, cause us to be in danger, do you have room for us? And could we? And she was like, shit, you don't even got to wait. So, right. I mean, not to be ridiculous.
Sure.
But the fact that I even thought, I'm just going to make sure that I know where and that we're welcome.
Yeah, no, definitely. So going back to the tariffs real quick here, according to CBS News, prices on cars, because of not even because of the fact that they are making them in the U.S. or not, but just the material goods is going to cause an average price cost hike in cars by $6,250 per car. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever done a payment calculator before, but that equates to about $130 a month on a car payment on a 60-month loan. So if you think that your car is worth $130 more per month, then I guess Trump's the guy for you.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know how to.
And if it's not bad enough there, it's also going to drive up construction costs, making houses even more expensive, which they've already been skyrocketing. So, I mean, all in all, this is all bad.
Bad.
He said it a couple points. He's like, well, there's going to be it's going to be rough for a little while. And I'm like, rough for a little while?
And he said,
what do you mean that it's going to be rough for a long fucking, you fucked us, buddy.
Yeah. And he goes, but we don't mind that. We don't mind it being rough.
Oh, but I do.
And then the Democrats started yelling like, boo, and yeah, we do mind. And Vance, and what's his butt, the other guy behind him, the speaker, what's his name? Mike Johnson. Yeah. They all three started cracking up.
No, it's all one big fucking joke to these people.
Well, yeah, they're not the ones getting hurt.
I hate it.
They just started, and they were like, "Oh, I guess so. You do."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Some of us do actually not want it to be rough for any of us, or for you, or even for our Trumpian neighbors.
Yeah.
I don't wish this on most of them.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe a couple of them, but not most of them.
Yeah. So that's close to what I've got. Trump said near the end of his speech that we are entering the golden age of America. But I think what he really means by that is we're entering the era of Christian nationalism, culture wars, and rewriting fucking history.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just bullshit. There wasn't anything really about policy in this entire speech. It was just a bunch of blowhard, feel-good nonsense. And the call to action was to his base alone. He basically said, Democrats, you're never gonna be on board with this.
Right.
And, sorry about your luck. Mm-hmm. Fuck off.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no crossing the aisle.
He was pretending that he had tears in his eyes, and he was like, I could do anything. I could find the cure to cancer, and these people would still hate me. And he's like saying these people as he's looking right at the people who hate him. He's like, look at you Democrats. You just want to hate me.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to hate you, but my God, I do.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I got. If you want to go back, if you didn't watch the speech and you do go back and watch it, all I can say is that it's not great.
It's bad.
It's really bad.
It's
really bad. And we already know that. We know what we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
He's too much to. He's a blustery fool, and he's harmful because he's stupid, because he's smart, because he's evil,
greedy.
Because who fucking knows? It doesn't really fucking matter. When I say he's smart, I'm not giving him credit for being smart. I'm giving him credit for being smart in the way that he doesn't relent.
He understands how to play the media.
Yeah.
And he understands that being a bully works.
I think what it really boils down to is that his personality has worked out for him.
Yes.
He's not smart. It's just that he's an egotistical maniac. He's an egomaniac who has to be in the spotlight all the time, and that mentality has made him who he is now.
There's a book called Quiet, and it's about introverts versus extroverts by Susan Cain, and he is just that book exemplified because he represents what it is to be louder, and that people who are louder are deemed stronger, and therefore are able to garner a much higher following than the quiet people.
Right.
And that's not to say that, like, I am quiet. I'm not. I am loud, but I'm not forcefully loud. I'm a fucking goofball. And then when I'm done, I want to go home and take off my pants and be quiet.
Right.
By myself.
Right.
So, I mean, there's different kinds of introverts and extroverts, obviously. But anyway, highly recommend, because it does explain the phenomenon of bullies taking charge.
Yeah.
And the people who let them.
Right. I would like to leave off with this. I want every one of you right now to go out and donate at least $1 to the ACLU. I want each of you to go out and pick out a cause that you want to support. I think that right now, more than ever, giving the money to the people that are taking action is more important and just absolutely necessary to continuing this democratic, experiment. We have to put our fight where we can.
We have to help each other, you guys. We have to help each other, and there are organizations out there. I mean, the Travis Project for, trans kids.
Yeah.
There's RAIN for victims of rape and domestic violence. There's Planned Parenthood, of course. There's just so many organizations out there. Find one that is helping people.
And speaks to you.
Yes.
And more than that, a lot of people get overwhelmed with the amount of things that are going on that are bad, right? Mm-hmm. You can't fix everything. So pick something.
And actually, that gets into something that I kind of wanted to mention, too. I recently listened to a podcast episode by Kara Lowenthal, I think. I'll try to remember to link her in the show notes, but, I'm bad at that. But I will try. And she did a replay of an episode that, was actually older from, a year ago or something. That was how to be happy when the world is on fire or something like that. Sure. And it addressed this exact situation where it's easy to feel overwhelmed and powerless, and that leads to being complacent and then beating yourself up for being complacent. And we don't have the luxury of that, especially if we don't want to be that kind of person. Right. And if we're on a self-help journey or whatever, and we're trying to find a way to not, right? Sure. And specifically what she said is, you don't have to fix the whole goddamn problem. You just have to put your shoes on in the morning and, do the next one thing, and let the next one thing be something that's in your power to control. And if it's helping other people, so much the better. Yeah. So, go give somebody a fucking $1 and don't get overwhelmed that it's not enough, because it is. It is. And I can say that as somebody who has been given $1 via Patreon. And please, this is not a beg for me. Go give it to somebody out there who is helping people. Yeah. The dollar will help. Absolutely. It will stretch and it will help. Yeah. Do it.
The more people that do it, the more help that they get, and the more we can make a change.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Thank you guys for being with us tonight on Discord. I wish everyone a safe rest of Trump's reign.
Yeah.
Because, Jesus, this is fucked up.
It is. I was just trying to pump myself up, so I'm going to try to go out on that positive high note.
Help. Yeah, do that one thing, all the things.
Just remember, we're all in this boat together.
We are.
And you're not alone, and it's...
And if you do feel alone, come to our Discord.
Yeah.
There are people here that are very much going to be like you.
And they can commiserate, or if you're needing a little bit more, we'll cheer you up.
Yeah.
We're in for it.
Absolutely.
Come. Definitely. Be with us. Come be miserable with us. Wee!
Thank you, guys. We will be back tomorrow with...
Zephaniah chapter 1.
Well, no, I got the weekly replay to get out first. Okay, and then we'll be back with Zephaniah.
Okay. Well, poor Zephaniah.
Yeah.
Zippity-doo-dah.
He's got to wait one more day.
He's going to be zippity-doo-dah. That's what I've decided I'm calling him.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Love y'all. Bye.
Hey, wife, I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep. We have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe. Leave an Apple review. Join us on Twitter. Support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.